Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for July 1st, 2025. Well, they closed out the quarter really strong, and that push, particularly at the end of the day, really got it going at the end of the day to set some new record highs, SPY at new record highs, QQQ at new record highs by the end of the day. This morning, however, we've got just a little bit of, uncertainty going on in the overall market. So let's dig right in. Last night we had Asian markets. They were mostly lower. We had Australia falling by $1.20, down 0.01%, but then we saw the Nikkei fall. It fell $501, or down 1.24% last night, feeling a little bit on the bearish side there. If we were to take a look, the Hong Kong index ended up about 18 points, or 0.58%. Last night we saw India up $24.75, or 0.10%. Hong Kong fell 211 points, or 0.87%, and the Shanghai fell $13.32, or 0.39% at the end of the day. Looking at European markets this morning, European markets are red across the board, with the DAX down 95.81 points, or 0.40%. FTSE is down over 18 points at 0.21%, and the CAC is lower by 30 points, down 0.39%. Looking at U.S. futures this morning, we have just a little bit of bearishness, but nothing to worry about at the moment. We've got the Dow down 27 points, 0.06%. S&P 500 futures down $12.25. Let's see, that's 0.19%, and the NASDAQ down $60.25, or 0.26% this morning. Looking at other markets here, our bond market here this morning, bonds are moving lower. We've got the 2-year bond. And see, it's coming in at 3.70%. 10-year bond is down at 4.20%, and the 30-year bond is at 4.74%. Now, when we take a look at the ramifications of that, that means our dollar is falling again this morning. Right now, the dollar is down about 40 cents. Here at the moment, so not feeling too happy there in the US dollar, but that is certainly improving things in gold. When we take a look at gold this morning, gold is up $51.20 an ounce, about a little bit over 1.5% to the upside. If we take a look at silver, silver is also having a good morning. Right now, silver futures up 55 cents. We would be looking at about 1.55% there on silver at 36.72 an ounce. Gold is at 3,358 an ounce. Copper this morning is also higher, pushing up. Right now we've got copper up about 7 cents here on the day, Nice little platform, potential bullish pattern setting up in here. Copper being, this is COPX. But we've got copper looking up about 1.40% this morning. You might want to take a look at like Freeport. Freeport is in a really good pattern as well. If we take a look at platinum this morning, platinum is up $17.50 an ounce, and palladium is up $21 an ounce, or 1.93%. So we've got a little bit of precious metal activity as the dollar continues to weaken. If we take a peek at what's going on in oil here this morning, if we take a look at XLE, those producers, they're just pretty darn flat in here. In fact, this is kind of a bearish pattern setting up, in that possibility that we could drift lower here in energy. Right now, we have oil futures, however, up 20 cents. So if we look at USO, we got just a little tiny bump coming up here today. Right now, oil up 20 cents at, let's see, 65.30 a barrel. We've got Brent crude coming in at 66.91 a barrel. In natural gas, after a whopping reversal yesterday, pushing on down, trying to retest some lows and actually making new lows here, recent lows in natural gas. So watch that, a lot of activity in there. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. How about we dig into these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. If we take a look at the Dow here, obviously very, very bullish run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're about on our 7th day in this upside run. One of the rules that I trade is 5 to 7 days in one direction. Watch for the potential reversal. We've got that going on here today, possibly. We did break through this resistance in the chart yesterday, pushing right up through that little platform area here. So if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration to push, then our next level is up here around 443. You can see we've got good price resistance setting up in that area of the chart. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say, well, they'll push back here to maybe test this area of price support, and breaking down below there, that's probably where we get a little bit of price action to the downside. We might see a little push down, test the top side of that candle, and then beyond there, well, that's where some big point moves could occur in the market. So keep an eye on that. Now, technically, we've got that 50 coming up, still underneath that 200-day moving average, but a big, strong move here in the Dow moving to the upside. So keep an eye on that. There's nothing in this that says any kind of bearishness at the moment. Stay with the upside trend until we see that trend breaking. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, just a remarkable push. And it really is tech that is doing the majority of the lift here. We weren't looking so good yesterday until all of a sudden we got Apple and some of those to start to reverse and spike back up, and then suddenly, boom, we're up on the day. And you can see new record highs showed up yesterday in the SPY. That means there's blue sky above up here. There's no upside resistance in the SPY whatsoever. If the bears have anything to say here, well, a little pushback in here. Maybe we'll test the top side of that candle right here, yesterday's low. So watch for that, possibly breaking down below there. I could see coming down here into that area of the chart. Beyond that, we start to worry a little bit with a bigger pullback in the market. it is entirely possible that the market's not going to really give up anything here in any kind of a pullback. It may be more of a rest. And one of the things that we commonly see is a choppy, sometimes wide-ranging consolidation as we wait on the next round of earnings. So as we moved into this month, we're not going to start seeing those big bank reports until the middle of the month. So we've got a little bit of resting period in here. And remember, we've got that blackout period going on as well. As companies fall into that blackout period, more and more companies will be unable to do any kind of corporate buyback activity or anything like that to inspire these stocks higher. But that being said, there's nothing in here that's bearish. So stay with that upside trend, stay with that move until something starts to show signs of concern. Now, if we look at our QQQ also extremely bullish, and I would say probably the most overextended in those indexes at the moment. Blue sky above, there's nothing in that chart that's bearish. Blue sky above, and could certainly keep that motion going directly on up to the upside. If, however, we happen to find a little bit of bearishness, I could see we might test yesterday's low and the high of this candle here. If it goes beyond that, well, we're probably getting a little bit deep into a pullback, and we might start worrying just a little bit if that pullback really starts to accelerate. But at the moment, there's no signs of that, so stick with that upside trend, and just remember, it could occur at any time for that pullback in the market. Now, if we take a look at our IWM, well, struggled in there yesterday. Just couldn't quite get the momentum that we saw with the big tech giants. In all three of the other indexes made the difference yesterday, and you can see here just couldn't find that mojo. But there really isn't anything wrong with this chart. Sitting right in here around this area of price support in the chart, we obviously rose up strongly right off of this support test in here that runs all the way back to 2021 and 2022. So just a little bit of rest or consolidation in here in IWM. If the bulls have anything to say, well, I would look for that attack of this resistance area up here, and you can see that runs back over into this area of the chart. Pushing through there, then I think there's that opportunity we could come all the way up into here. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say and push this back down, we've actually got a pretty decent area of price support right there. With multiple days in testing that area. But if they push down through there, then I think that possibility that we could push back and maybe even fill that gap to the downside here on IWM. So watch that carefully if that picks up and gets going. Okay, so normally this video is unedited at all. I'm going to have to edit out a couple sneezes there in the video. I apologize for maybe the change in voice or something like that. If we take a look beyond IWM here, and we take a look at our VIX. Our VIX popped up a little bit yesterday, started moving up, and then right at the end of the day it really started to fade back. But we will want to notice in here it was just slightly higher yesterday. No big worries. We did test this resistance here in the chart, didn't punch through, and then those bulls stepped right back up at the end of the day. But if those bears were to get something going in here, then I would look for that pushback up here to retest that area and possibly even pop through up into this next range here in the VIX. Might even see, if the bears were to really get going, maybe a push up into this area, kind of midway in this range on the VIX. So watch that carefully. But if the bulls can shake this off in some of the economic data, then there certainly is that possibility that could push right on down. And it's also possible we get so many things coming our way in news on the spending bill going through the House and the Senate. That seems to be inspiring the market, certainly seems to be inspiring the financials. So watch that carefully as well. Any of those news reports can move us here in the market one way or another. If we were to take a look at our T20s, T21, 22 this morning, well, we were pretty elevated first part of the day yesterday, and then notice that we had more stocks actually pulling back than going up yesterday. So while we saw those new record highs coming into play, again, it was mostly just a handful of stocks that were making that occur in the indexes. We did have that little bit of fade from the bearish reversal zone. If those bears were to get something going today, we could certainly see this fading on back down a bit. If the bulls find inspiration, well, just kind of keep in mind we could push right back up here, but we do have more room for the bears to move at this point in time, so watch carefully for that possibility. If they do get a little bit of profit taking wave that comes in, it could move kind of quickly. If we take a look at T2108, our T2108 was a little bit lower yesterday. Percentage of stocks above the 40-day just slipping back right in there around the 60% area, number of stocks above their 40-day moving average. Could be putting in a little bit of a lower high in T2108. So if those bears do have anything to say, just kind of keep in mind we've got some good areas of support down in here around 50%. That wouldn't be a major problem. If the bulls find anything in the data today to get going to the upside and break that little downtrend, well, notice we've got this resistance up here around 70% to be paying attention to. T2107 actually squeaked out just a tiny little gain yesterday, pretty much flat on the day, still trying to squeeze up there toward that 40% area of the chart. And I would look for a little resistance up there if those bulls can push us up through that area. So watch carefully now. If they can pop through there, maybe up toward 45 is where we'll be looking on T2107. Remember, this is the percentage of stocks above the 200 days. So remember, we've only got not quite 40% of the stocks above the 200-day, which tells us that we still have these moving averages in the market are all jabberwockied, and we've got a lot of work here to straighten that out still. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say and push back into here, notice we got some good price support here around 35%, and we've got this little upside trend right in here that could hold us in that area of the chart. So keep an eye on that if the bears were to get going. If we take a look at our T2101, I think this is going to be our problem. For the next couple of weeks anyway, is relatively low breadth. Unless that breadth happens to come in a bearish wave. We have struggled as we have continued to stretch and make new record highs. Our breadth continues to weaken in the market. Now, if we were to see any kind of bearish wave pick up and gain any momentum, that could bring that breadth up. And if the breadth comes up on a bearish wave, that's something to be concerned about. We could move down sharply in the market with enough energy from those bears. We've not seen that yet, but just keep in mind it's also possible we could see our markets just kind of drift sideways. We see it pretty commonly during this period of time where we can just see the market kind of chop around in a price range because of low breadth and waiting on that next round of earnings, looking for that inspiration. We do have some things in the way here that could create some volatility for us in these markets, however, and that is the fact that on July 9th, as we get through the holiday, all of the tariffs that had the 90-day pause could come back on. Now, the president has said he's not intending to extend those tariffs. Now, that might mean that we're close on a lot of trade deals and we can get announcements of a lot of trade deals and get the market really inspired by that. Or we see those tariffs come back on, really disappointing the market and seeing some issues here in regards to that. I think this is just my impression and this is just my opinion, but I think the market has so ignored and discounted the potential impacts of tariffs in this wild push to the upside that we could have some ramifications of that if those tariffs go back on. Now, if the president could also make that decision, even though he said, I'm not planning to extend the tariffs, just extend the tariffs and keep that bullishness going here in the market. But let's watch that closely. That's on July 9th. So as we get through this holiday, we got a little bit more to think about here on the day. And of course, then the so-called big beautiful bill, how that might change things with the big tax cuts, the big regulation cuts in the market. So a lot of things coming for the market to have to decipher and chew on here. We'll want to watch that pretty carefully. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, here's the things we got to worry about here. Right here at the open of the market, Jerome Powell's going to be out there talking. So keep an eye on that. He may not say anything new, but anytime Jerome Powell talks, you want to be paying attention to the possibility that he can move the market. So watch that carefully this morning. We've got a PMI manufacturing number out today. They're suggesting that's going to stay flat on the PMI at 52. ISM manufacturing number, they're suggesting that ticks higher by about 0.2 to 48.8 from 48.5. Remember, in ISM, anything below 50 says that our manufacturing is in contraction. So that would still be a contraction in manufacturing, but we don't really care. We really don't care as long as big tech can continue. We just don't care about manufacturing at all here in the United States. It is kind of a remarkable thing how we have been able to ignore that. Now, if we take a look at construction spending in here, construction spending, they're looking for that to improve to a 0.1 from a negative 0.4. Keep an eye on that. And we've got that job openings report in here today. They're looking for 7.3 million. Continuing to decline on those job openings. So watch that. I don't know how the market might react to that. It might actually be a bullish reaction on that decline because it shows that inflation is, jobs inflation is continuing to come down. Now, if we take a look, we've got some bond auction announcements and then a 6-week bond auction to end the day. Looking forward into Wednesday, remember we're going to have those motor vehicle sales, mortgage applications, job challenger report. The ADP report will be piled in there too tomorrow morning before the bell. And then we've got a petroleum status and a 4-month bill auction to be thinking about on Wednesday. If we take a look at our earnings calendar here today, well, don't get too excited. There's not much going on. We've got this morning, we will get a report from MSM trying to move to the upside here today. Keep an eye on that. And if we take a look at the afternoon, well, it doesn't get a whole lot better. We've got GBX that will be reporting this afternoon, and there's a stock, TTGT, that will also be reporting, but it trades such low volume and it really isn't going to matter. So those are your earnings reports for today. All of the earnings reports for today. Not much going on there. If we take a look, how about we look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful, helpful to your day, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button and leave a brief comment. And it really is those comments that engagement with the video that helps. Remember, guys, even an emoji counts. I understand it gets monotonous putting a comment on a video that's a daily video, but thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. And I also want to remind everyone we still have that special going on here. If anyone would like to be part of the Right Way Options room and check out what we do over there, you could visit us for a 30-day trial for just $7, and pretty darn cheap when you think about the fact that you probably can't go to McDonald's for a Big Mac meal for $7. You get to spend 30 days with us, ask me any questions, maybe learn a few things, maybe find some new trading partners in the trading room. So give us a shot and take a look at our opportunity in Right Way Options. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Whoops, you need to be doing your due diligence and make sure you're paying very close attention to the price action here in the chart, and just stick with that trend as long as you can, but remember not to chase stocks that are overextended. So first off, let's take a look at some that could be trying to set up here. Now this WBA, yeah, I don't know if it's worth paying attention to or not. Coming out from underneath that downtrend, it's trying to get something going here. It keeps coming up in a list of mine. Watch that carefully. U.S. Bancorp really looking pretty good here. Nice little stretch to the upside, broke through resistance. This resting pullback sets up that next opportunity to the upside and maybe a resumption of that upside trend. So watch that carefully on USB. And I'm seeing Kohl's is trying to come up out of this bottom here in the chart, breaking that downtrend. Keep an eye on that. If retail can get going here, we certainly have seen discount retailers do really well. Kohl's struggling here quite a bit, but watch that carefully if it starts to come up out of this bottom in the chart, worth paying attention to. Now, stocks that I think that are doing way better than that, take a look at stocks like Newmont Mining. Newmont looking very good here, holding that pattern, stretched up yesterday, trying to follow through to the upside today in those gold miners. Take a look at just the basket GDX, or you could drop into that list here on GDX, and you're going to see stocks that are making some moves here to the upside. So keep an eye on those in the mining sector, looking kind of interesting in a lot of places. Now, if we take a look at other areas of the market besides mining, I think it would be interesting to keep an eye on what's going on in casinos. We had a nice little pattern setting up here on LVS, and Las Vegas Sands getting a little bit of a bump here this morning to the upside. Might be ready to push on up and attack this next area of resistance in the chart. Keep an eye on that when we look at, I was mentioning Caesars yesterday, and Caesars Palace really didn't get much going, or Caesars Entertainment, I should say. Didn't really get anything going. We popped just a little bit and then faded back, but I still think this is a bullish pattern trying to set up in here. Watch for that potential of that upside move. And in other gambling, take a look at DraftKings. DraftKings setting up a beautiful pattern in here, worth paying attention to. I really like the look of that chart, and if the bulls can get going, we might catch that push to the upside right there, worth paying attention to. Take a look at the CME. CME looking good in this pattern. I placed a price alert on it yesterday. It did pop that alert. Struggled in here just a little bit, but we just kind of struggled with momentum overall if it wasn't big tech. Watch that carefully in here. This may start to extend to the upside. CBOE would be another one, and CBOE got a lot more energy yesterday on that push. finding this wedge pattern in here as a support and then pushing right on through that resistance. Keep an eye on CBOE. That's looking pretty decent and may have some upside potential there, worth a look anyway. If we take a look at some of the big tech giants, Google had a pretty good day yesterday, even though it left a dark cloud cover in here on that pattern. This little rest though back into this support, that might be just what the doctor ordered in here. Just get a little bit of rest and we could complete this inverted head and shoulders pattern in here on Google and see that stretch coming into the upside. So maybe a little rest would be good in here for Google. Watch that. Apple all of a sudden got inspired yesterday, popped huge in the day, and broke through some resistance here this morning. Now, right now we're getting a big pop and drop here in the pre-market on that, but watch that carefully here. We also have a little tiny, very subtle inverted head and shoulders pattern maybe starting to form there on Apple. However, there's a lot of analysts suggesting Apple could struggle this quarter in sales. But watch that carefully. It is, as far as a big tech goes, it is one of the more oversold. And if it starts to come back around, just anticipation of earnings can start to bring this back up. So keep an eye on that. Look into those financials here. Boy, when we look at things like Goldman Sachs, that has just been on a tear to the upside. Now, I would suggest this is likely to pull back. But when we take a look at stocks like XYZ coming up out of this pattern in here, I've been talking about this for a while, breaking that downtrend. XYZ coming around, if we continue to see that bullishness in financials, look to areas like this. You might take a look at Visa after a pretty darn strong pullback here. This is reclaiming a little bit of price support in the chart. Little rest, little pullback in there might set that opportunity for that next upside move. Take a look at PayPal. PayPal coming around, starting to show a little bit of bullishness here in the market and push back up. Now, if you're looking for something on the cheaper side, something that might be, quite affordable, take a look at Plug. Plug Power got a big pop yesterday in that chart. Now we're coming into this next area of resistance, so don't be surprised if this consolidates in here or rests in here for a little while on that chart. But if it can get any kind of bullishness, maybe after a little bit of rest, or perhaps maybe just push on through that resistance and then rest, watch that carefully in here. So that could push through and then rest back a little bit. That could consolidate or pull back into here and still look for that opportunity in Plug Power. Little cheapy guy, but coming around up out of that bottom. You could also take a look at Ballard Power. Ballard Power's been coming up out of that pattern yet. This is in the same group on that hydrogen, so watch that carefully in here. Little rest or pullback in here could set up an opportunity on Ballard. A few other places that you could look. Take a look at GLW. GLW Corning looking very, very good, and just running this upside trend. Broke my alert in here, continuing to show that bullishness in Corning looking good. Cardinal Health continues to look good. Pop in my alert, continuing that trend to the upside. I'd keep an eye on that. When we look at some of these discount retailers here, Dollar Tree still hanging in there for that potential that could pop. Because of such a strong run, I really wouldn't rule out the possibility of more of a consolidating zone here for a bit, but it is worth paying attention to here in the chart. CRM, Salesforce, nice little push up here, testing some resistance in the chart, testing my alert up here, not able to push through quite yet. This may have to rest a little bit more, but I'd be watching that opportunity for CRM to move on through to the upside. Take a look at BlackBerry here. BlackBerry, nice little resting pullback after gapping on earnings. This might just rest right in here, and we might be looking for those bulls bulls at any time to continue that push to the upside in Blackberry. And take a look at Datadog. Datadog continues to look bullish. After my alert pop here, we rallied up and consolidated some more, and now continuing that stretch to the upside. I do think that is worth continuing to pay attention to. So there you go, guys. I've got this video running a little bit long. I better pull this back. Y'all take care, be safe, have an awesome day. I want to wish you great success in your trading, and as always, I wish you all the very best. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.